Okay, here we go. This will only take a couple of minutes, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how we scorekeep for recall. Now, what we're basically trying to do is get an idea of how much time and effort and energy we spend making phone calls and what is the result of that time, effort, and energy. So, we're going to track three things. We're going to track the number of phone calls that are made, the number of hellos that you get, and the number of appointments scheduled from those hellos. And the reason we track those three things is that we want to see if there's a relationship between how many gross phone calls we make and whether we actually get people on the phone. And then once we get them on the phone, how good are we at scheduling appointments there and then in that moment. So that's kind of the funnel that we want to create. Now, I should say up top that I am perfectly well aware that a lot of people will not be home, cell phone voicemail, and we're going to leave messages, and those people will call back. So we are not going to try to track how many people call back and schedule appointments. That is simply good job for us. We're going to create more appointments. We will see that reflected in the improved number of empty hygiene appointments. So that's a result. What we're really looking at here is trying to get at least a minimum number of calls per day and then seeing how good we are with those calls. Okay, so here we go. Using this form, and it's really simple. It's simply a number of the days, the date down the left-hand side, 1 through 31, and then we have number of calls, number of hellos, and number of appointments. So let me explain to you exactly what a call, hello, and appointment is. A call is simply that. A call is simply a call that goes out that the result of that call could be a new appointment. So we're not talking about confirmation calls. We're not talking about anything other than a call that could result in a new appointment. Could that call be for restorative work? Yes, it could, but we're going to track that in a separate category and track those people in a separate category. This is only to fill the hygiene schedule. So a call is a phone call that could result in a new appointment. Secondly, a hello. A hello is a little bit more tricky. A hello is if somebody answers the phone that has the ability to make an appointment for themselves or someone else. So an example of this is you call the Jones household. Mrs. Jones answers the phone. She certainly has the ability to make an appointment for herself, and she does. She says, I understand. I can commit to being there. So that is a call, a hello, and an appointment. If Billy Jones, who's 11, answers the phone, it's a call because you made the call. But does Billy have the ability to make an appointment for himself or for someone else? No. So if he says, yes, my mom and I will be there next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, that's a call, but not a hello. It turns into a hello if he goes and gets his mom or dad and puts them on the phone. So conversely, you could have a call and no hello, but you could have a call, a hello, and multiple appointments. So if you called that same household for Mrs. Jones, she answers the phone. Mrs. Jones has the ability to make an appointment for herself or for someone else. And she says, yes, I can guarantee that me, my husband, and Billy will all be there next Thursday at 2 o'clock. That's going to be a problem for the hygienist unless you have 3 of them. But it is a call, a hello, and 3 appointments scheduled. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's basically the definition of a call, a hello, and an appointment. Once we get into the habit of doing this, you'll start to see a pattern emerge. And I don't know what the pattern's going to be. It's different from almost every practice. However, I will tell you what the goal is. The goal is half and half. So if we made 100 phone calls and we got 50 hellos and 25 appointments, we would be doing very, very well. Now, we're going to probably end up with more appointments than that because people will call back, will leave messages, and they'll filter back in through it. But we're not going to track that. That's why half is the goal. So if you made 20 phone calls a day, again, just for reactivation or overdue recall or people who are without appointments, and you got 10 hellos and 5 appointments, you would be doing very, very well. So we know that needs to be a consistent effort all along the way. And this needs to be tracked by whomever makes phone calls. So it's not always the front office. Sometimes there'll be a no-show in the hygiene schedule, and the hygienist will go and make a few calls. We want them to use this form or a copy of it so that at the end of the month we can collate and know exactly what our recall efforts were and what the fruit of that labor was. Another thing that we might look to do is if our numbers are not very good, what time of day are you getting the hellos? So sometimes right next to on the form, I'll have them write, okay, just write the time of the hello. So if you get a hello, then write the time of day. And if you see that your patient base is super available in the morning, then we would want to make our phone calls in the morning. If they're super available 3, 4, 5 o'clock, then that's what we want to focus our efforts for the future. Okay, now that we understand about calls, hellos, and appointments, about how to track them, let me tell you a little bit about how to run the list and who we're tracking, who we're calling. If you see on the form that is provided with this video lesson, at the bottom are instructions on what lists to run and who to call and when to call them. The first thing and the emphasis that I have is putting our effort and energy into the most likely people to get onto the schedule. In other words, the low-lying fruit. And that's your list one. So that would be patients that are due for cleaning in the upcoming month. So I recommend you just have a system that you run the same way every single month. So on the first day of the month, for the month forward, you would run a list for every patient that is due for cleaning in the coming month. And that would also include anybody that's overdue by up to 3 months. Anybody longer than 3 months overdue, we're going to consider that a reactivation patient. So on the first day of the month, you would run a list for every patient that is due for cleaning in the upcoming month, but that does not have a cleaning for the past 3 months. In other words, they're overdue for the last 3 months. That's your low-lying fruit. Run that list, work that list, and then track your calls, hellos, and appointments. The other list that you can run is patients that are between 3 months and 2 years overdue. So those patients are not going to be as easy to reactivate, but we don't want to forget about them. So there's lots of ways to use this data that we get, but more than anything, it's about being accountable to the system, diligently working recall every single day, and not saying, over the weekend on Saturday, I'm going to make 100 calls, or next Tuesday, we're going to make 100 calls as a group. 100 calls doesn't do very much. It doesn't do as much as 10 calls a day for 10 days, and I can't explain why. It just is. It's better to do it as a normal part of your everyday working life and have it built into the systems. And so this is how we track recall, calls, hellos, and appointments. Hopefully that makes sense.